What is going on, my fellow Jets fans? Welcome to the latest episode of the New York Jets State of Mind podcast, coming at you each week at the bare minimum. Well, in this case, I'm coming at you for the second time this week. My name is Malcolm Harper, aka MHJetsFan83. You can find me on X, Instagram, and YouTube at MHJetsFan83, which is one word, all lowercase. You can find my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. This episode and all of my previous episodes, for all you content people that like watching the video versions of this, they're all posted on my YouTube channel at MHJetsFan83. Before I get to the latest Jets news, injuries, and previewing the Week 16 matchup, a home game against the Los Angeles Rams this upcoming Sunday at MetLife Stadium, if y'all could do me a huge favor and share my social media accounts and this podcast with not only other Jets fans, but football fans in general, that will be greatly appreciated. Please hit the like, comment, and subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel so both of them can actually grow. Now, with that said, I wanted to wait until I ended up recording this weekend, but I couldn't take this anymore. And for those of you who are watching me on my video version of this podcast, I have my microphone that's on red right now because I am absolutely pissed off because there is never, ever a dull moment in Jetsland. I am Jetland. I am absolutely disgusted and heated with the owner, Woody Johnson. As y'all know by now, there are numerous reports from The Athletic, specifically from Diane Rossini, Zach Rosenbach, and Michael Silver, that Woody Johnson have done a lot of things. One of them was vetoing a trade to get Jerry Jeudy because of a Madden rating that was not even high enough that was told by his teenage sons. The Jets offered a day 3 draft pick in the trade for Alan Lazard to get Jerry Jeudy, but the Broncos decided to take the Cleveland Browns offer instead, which consists of draft picks, and didn't want to deal with Alan Lazard's contract. And I've seen that Jerry Jeudy was on X making jokes about it to Chad Ochocinco, which that was pretty embarrassing. Also, the reports that after the 2022 loss to the Seattle Seahawks, in which Mike White was the quarterback at the time, and he clearly wasn't at 100% going into that game with broken ribs, Woody Johnson had the nerve to say that you effing suck after playing through injuries that was heard by multiple Jets players. He did apologize to Mike White, but to me, the damage was already done. Now it all makes sense of why Mike White chose to sign with the Miami Dolphins prior to the 2023 season. Also in these reports, former Jets GM Joe Douglas was fed up with Woody Johnson's sons trying to influence his behavior, sharing social media posts or articles about various outlets within the organization's top decision makers. I can't believe that his sons, who has no roles in the organization, influencing their dad using outside info to undermine the football people that are under him. Also, Woody Johnson's son, Brick, took another game ball that was awarded it to Garrett Wilson in a profanity-laced explanation, which was later posted on Instagram, which led to multiple players saying the energy felt drained out of the room when Woody Johnson gave interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich the game ball that Aaron Rodgers was actually holding. And he also wanted JD to keep the last pick of the draft instead of using the pick in the 7th round to trade Zach Wilson to say he drafted Mr. Irrelevant. One of the Jets executives stated, and this was the direct quote from the article saying, there's no nice way to say it, but there's no nice way to say what we need to say, which is, unless we drastically alter our culture and the way we do things from a top down, we have no chance, close quote. Now, a Jets spokesperson basically pushed back on that quote, is saying with his own quote, this is a false premise. The spokesperson basically said Woody Johnson really just seeks out and welcomes feedback and debate. We wouldn't have been named one of the best places to work in New Jersey if people thought that way, and there's never been a complaint. Also in The Athletic, some within the Jets organization critically referred to confidence as the Bobs from the movie Office Space, in a reference to the corporate consultants who are in a punchline in the film. Now, with all that being said, if all of this or most of it is actually true, then I'm pretty much embarrassed as the Jets fan. And with this mindset by the owner, we will never ever win, regardless of who the Jets end up bringing here. I know they're going through their GM searches with the interviews right now, but this right here, we're pretty much the laughingstock of the NFL. And I'm really, really concerned that we're not going to get a good GM and a good head coach, knowing the fact that Woody does not know nothing about football. What GM and head coach wants to go and deal with this mess? And also, like I said in the past, in my previous episodes of my podcast, we need a president of football operations, not just a GM and a head coach. He needs Woody Johnson needs to either sell the team or let his football people blow them, do their jobs, and stay out of the way. And like everybody knows, Jets fan Joe Benengo, that used to work on WFN, he's there part time, obviously. He said on his on numerous times on his podcast, "Oh, the Pain," which is a great podcast, by the way. Make sure you guys go follow Joe B because he's pretty awesome. He doesn't hold back when it comes to the Jets. Well, anyway, he basically said, and I'm going to piggyback off what Joe Benengo said, we have to get this right. Who knows? We could turn this around next season. It ain't what it used to be where you had 3 to 5 years to turn around. You can literally turn this out in one full season. We've seen quick turnarounds in the recent years in the NFL. Let's take the Houston Texans, for example. You got CJ Stroud last year, and they ended up making the playoffs, and they have already are going to the playoffs again. So that's 2 years in a row with CJ Stroud at the quarterback. Now look at the Washington Commanders. They drafted Jalen Daniels, the quarterback at LSU. They have been good this year and they're about to go make the playoffs. Well, the new ownership, that actually helps as well, too, because Daniel Snyder's not there anymore. So another team you can also look at is the Denver Broncos. When they cut Russell Wilson this past offseason and taking that massive cap hit, what did they do? They ended up drafting Bo Nix, and now they're on the verge of making the playoffs. Right now, they currently have the second longest active streak behind the Jets. They have 8 years. The last time they ended up winning was when they were in the playoffs was Super Bowl 50 in 2016 when Peyton Manning was actually the quarterback. Now, obviously, Sean Payton being there as the head coach has a lot to do with it since he is a quarterback whisperer. Now, enough with the negativity. Let's flip over to the positive news. The Jets have completed a couple of GM interviews with the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, former Titans GM, John Robinson, ESPN analyst, Louis Riddick, and former Falcons GM, Thomas Dimitroff. Keep in mind, Jets fans, the Jets are only allowed to interview candidates that are not currently in the NFL. There's also a report, according to Connor Hughes of SNY. Big shout out to Connor Hughes, by the way. Make sure you actually follow his video show on YouTube as well, too, or wherever you get your podcast. He basically says that Mike Vrabel is the coaching candidate the Jets convey the most. So the Jets want him. Mike Vrabel wants the Jets. So may the stars align for the Jets. He can hold the team accountable. As me as the Jets fan, I'm all in on Mike Vrabel as the next head coach of the New York Jets. So Brian Flores will be my second pick, and Aaron Glenn would not be a bad hire either as a consolation prize if we can't get Flores and Mike Vrabel. I would much rather have the GM in place first and then have the GM pick the head coach. So let's get to other Jets news. Now there's rumors that Garrett Wilson could be asking for a trade in the offseason. When asked about it when he addressed the media today, he said, quote, I don't know, and added that he's just trying to be where his feet are. He also added that he loves the Jets and he can't be worried about that, close quote. Now, did y'all see the beef with Aaron Rodgers and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark? Aaron Rodgers was speaking to the media and he does not, he wants to come back as the bridge quarterback to mentor the young coming back if he is allowed to actually go and come back next season. But obviously, this all depends on the new regime about what they want to do with Aaron Rodgers. So, with all the news, let's get to the injury report. And I'm recording this on Wednesday, so obviously, all this is going to be subject to change. But we do know right now that Jalen Mills was placed on season IR with a collarbone injury on the interception that he actually made last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Michael Carter II with the back injury didn't practice. AVT with the ankle didn't practice. Quentin Williams with the hamstring didn't practice. And Braylon Allen was limited with a back injury. So was Isaiah Davis. He was also limited. He had a back injury as well, too. Brandon Echols with a shoulder injury. He is also limited. And Morgan Moses with the knee was also limited. And Quincy Williams was limited. And then let's get to the players that were full participant in practice. Leku Fotu. Remember that guy that we actually signed in the offseason from the Arizona Cardinals? He was a full participant in practice with a knee injury. Xavier Newman was full with a groin injury. And DJ Reed was also a full participant in practice with a groin injury. Now, enough with the injuries. Let's get to this upcoming Sunday's game against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, according to ESPN Bet, the Rams have opened up as a 3-point favorite with the over-under of 47.5. I've seen this fluctuate the last few days. At the highest they got up to was 3.5. Now, as I'm recording this podcast right now, and today's Wednesday, the Rams are now currently the favorite at -3.5 at 46.5. Now, the Rams are currently on a 3-game winning streak right now. The temperature is going to be cold. The temperature is predicted to be 28 degrees. So they're going to be flying cross country from Hollywood to New York. So the matchup that I'm going to be looking for in this game is going to be the Rams wide receiver of Cooper Kupp and Nakua against the Jets cornerbacks of Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Well, in last week's game, the Rams did not score a touchdown last week against the San Francisco 49ers, but they did able to score 12 points with 4 field goals, and they won the game 12-6. Matthew Stafford was 16 of 27 for 160 yards. Kyron Williams ran for 108 yards and 29 carries. And Cooper Kupp on 3 targets had 0 catches. Nakua had 7 catches for 97 yards. Now on the ground, the Rams ran for 142 yards on 38 carries. So the Jets' run defense is going to be tested yet again. Now, let's see if Aaron Rodgers could actually go stay hot in terms of the passing yards, especially in the last 2 games against the Dolphins and the Jaguars. Now, for my prediction of this game, I think the Rams are going to win this game. I think the score is going to be 30-27, and I think the defense is going to let us down again. And the Rams are probably going to win the game with a field goal. That's my analysis for this upcoming Sunday's game. Now, before I get on out of here for the week, let me get to my favorite part of my podcast. And you guys know exactly what it is. It's new follower shout outs. And as I always said on this show, I am a man of the people on this podcast. So each new follower that follows me on either X, Instagram, and YouTube, you are definitely going to be getting a shout out from me. So right now, I don't have no new followers on X or Instagram, but I do have one new follower on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to give a shout out to JR Diontifuro. I think I'm saying that correctly. Thank you very much for following me. I really appreciate it. Okay, now with all that said, I am signing out. I cannot thank you enough for supporting me on this podcast. If you listen to this podcast for the very first time, please do me a favor, wherever you're listening at or whatever device that you're listening on, please go to X, Instagram, and or YouTube. Go to the search box and type my name at MHJetsFan83, which is one word, all lowercase. I'm going to be posting this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. This video and all my previous videos, as I mentioned in the beginning, will be for your viewing pleasure on my YouTube page at MHJetsFan83. I will be back next week to do a full recap of what happened. So enjoy you guys this weekend. Enjoy the game. Jets fans, we have 3 more games of this until this lost season is over with. So I'm signing off. And as always, JETS, 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 Jets. Take care.